Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Slam Hub Wrestling. Myself, Supreet, and this is your NXT Takeover 36 review, joined by Spandan here. So, what you think about Takeover? I thought for a 2-hour wrestling show, it was good.
Yeah, some of the things I would like to highlight on the show is first, I was too tired after SummerSlam yesterday. So I didn't think I'd have the energy, so I slept early. I did the review, I studied for around an hour and I slept. So woke up at time for takeover, was fresh, but still felt a bit tiring because if you see the show was 2 hours, 27 minutes. It felt like they had already decided to give 30 minutes to each match. Like somewhere felt that some of the matches could have ended early. A lot of time was given to the matches, but again, takeovers always deliver match quality wise. The storylines were good. I was disappointed with the conclusion to some storylines. Overall, a very good show. Yeah, for a 2.5 hour show, I would give it a good rating, which obviously would be at the end. But yeah, satisfied with what I watched.
Did you feel any change? Because as of late, people are telling there's going to be a change in NXT. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but kind of looked like the same old, same old.
Yeah, I think they're waiting for Takeover to end. So today Takeover ended. So I think the revamp of NXT, as people say, it's going to happen. It's going to happen from this week's NXT. So if you watch this interview with BT Sport of Nick Khan, he's obviously stupid. The guy is mad. He's saying Monday Night Raw should be 4 hours, SmackDown should be 8 hours, and that's how revenue is going to come exactly. So I don't know what that guy's thinking. He's saying that NXT is totally in the hands of Triple H, Paul Levesque. He also mentioned. So I don't know what he's doing because if Triple H had total control of NXT, as you say he has, this wouldn't have been the scenario. This wouldn't have been the scenario at all. Triple H knows business. He's not stupid. So let's see what the revamp is all about, the new logo and stuff. And that is why I was shocked with the result of the main event as well, because they were saying that they want people in the 20s and not even 30s. Not even 30s. 30s are young. So they don't want old people, yet they gave the championship to a guy who's 40 plus. So I'm shocked to see some of the results. Let's see what happens in the future. But I'm not excited because of the things that have happened right now, the releases and stuff. So let's just see what happens on NXT.
Basically, this was a good takeover, but it will not make you and me to watch NXT on a regular basis again.
Yeah, not on a regular basis, but maybe this week. Because first there are rumors and probably confirmation of a revamp of NXT. You have a couple of new champions. You want to watch the future storylines. So maybe 1 week. But yeah, keeping a fan active for weeks and weeks and weeks is difficult. SmackDown has been doing it consistently. Raw has been terrible, but NXT has been in the middle of it. They're kind of doing good shows, then bad shows. But yeah, if you watch this takeover, you'll tune into NXT this week, but next week, maybe not.
And by the way, have you heard the rumor? I think it's official. NXT is done with their deal in Full Sail. So the Full Sail era is over.
So you're happy that the CWC bullshit, as you call it, is over.
Yeah, but problem is CWC is in Performance Center and the Full Sail deal, goodbye.
Okay, so so they've ended the Full Sail deal, which was actually the NXT location. So probably they're determined to continue in the Performance Center with CWC. The crowd today was a bit shocking because they were booing the faces, they were cheering the heels, they were making some random ass chants. A face character who's loved so much wins, and they're chanting holy shit and bullshit and all of that stuff. So quite the unusual crowds, but I don't think they're still the original NXT crowds because NXT crowds are pro NXT 100%. So let's just see where it goes. But talking about the deal, I think they've lost the major location of NXT and they cannot do arenas every single time. NXT doesn't have that much viewers. Revamp. Maybe this is part of the revamp.
Bro, even the fan base is you could say dead now. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you talk about pro NXT fans, maybe they are in the hundreds or even less. Like who even watches NXT these days? Yes, like strictly.
Yeah, not regularly. Yeah, you're right. Because if you notice that phase from 2016 to 19, I think NXT died in 2020. So 29 till 2019, they entered Survivor Series for the first time. There was no Raw chance. Raw was being booed at Survivor Series. SmackDown still had some fans because people do love SmackDown. Even I was supporting SmackDown. But NXT, people were roaring. People loved NXT so much. But after the pandemic, I feel that the pandemic hit NXT the worst because Raw and SmackDown kind of were the main shows. They still had McIntyre as WWE champion, fresh start, and all of that. But NXT totally took a bump. And I think 2020 to 21, they've not had any big moments. They're trying with the title changes and match of the year contenders and all of that stuff. But that can only sustain you for a couple of weeks. You cannot bring viewers week after week just on the basis of rematches and stuff. NXT does not have a lot of rematches, but still, you need something new. Who knows if this revamp is actually a very good thing? You could come out after 1 month or 2 months and see a totally new NXT with amazing results, amazing superstars, and everything new. Anything could happen.
But anyways, let's see what the future holds for NXT. But let's talk about this show, NXT Takeover 36. But before that, if you're new to Slam Up Wrestling, then make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Check out our other content this week. We did review for Dynamite, Rampage, the one where CM Punk debuted. We also did for a review for SummerSlam, aka Summer Scam, the lamest party of the summer. So check that out. But let's start with the kickoff show. Did you check out the kickoff show?
No, I did not.
So it was the opposite. So yesterday you told me not to watch the kickoff for SummerSlam, but I watched the kickoff for your takeover. So nothing much
And
here. It was Trey Baxter versus Ridge Holland. Short match, man. A squash match, you could say. Ridge Holland got a quick victory. Nothing much. They are kind of rebuilding Ridge Holland again.
Yeah. Okay. So Ridge Holland is a big guy. So you can build the new stars on NXT right now, part of the revamp again. But I'm happy to see that this breakout tournament that is happening. We have the finals this week. So guys, do watch it because two amazing stars, Odyssey Jones and Carmelo Hayes. So I'm happy that these stars who are losing in the, qualifiers and stuff, they are being used in other matches. It's not like they've lost the tournament and they're done in NXT. They are part of the NXT brand. So in total, you've built 8 new stars. No matter who wins the finals, you have total of 8 new stars. So happy to see that. But yeah, Ridge Holland can be a very credible challenger to either of the championships, the North American or the NXT championship. And since we have a big guy as the NXT champion now, you could have a tough opponent in Ridge Holland.
But nothing much here. As Holland got the win, he did a post-match thing, calling out who's this guy, Timothy Thatcher. So I think this is a ongoing storyline with actually these two teams, because Pete Dunne has been paired up with Ridge Holland. You got Thatcher and Ciampa. They are a tag team, so they are doing something. Nothing much.
Yeah, nothing much. But Timothy Thatcher, I'm a big fan of his work. The style of his wrestling, the attire, it goes well with everything he does. So let's see where this goes. But this is not some of the things that people will tune into NXT for. They're majorly looking for the big feuds. So let's just see. But there's no problem building minor feuds to build new stars.
Let's talk about the main card. So, like we said, this is happening in CWC. Mostly should have happened in Vegas, in some small arena, but they opted to just do it in the CWC in Orlando with 500 to around that range of people, and it's kind of getting boring, man, at this point.
Yeah, it is, because now the crowds are kind of getting better in the CWC, but not actually NXT level, because we know NXT fans. The problem is we've heard how loud NXT crowds can be and how good they are. That's the issue here. So I hope they're moving into, a better location. They can find a better location. The, they bloody built a Thunderdome in a couple of months, and it was a great, experiment for the first few months. Then it got boring, but everything gets boring. But it was a great creation. So they'll find a new location, but I think they should get back to doing pay-per-views, takeovers in a big arena, because still you never know. You're assuming that pro NXT fans are dead. You do not know. If you move into an arena, if the tickets sell out, then you know that the NXT fans are still alive. So let's just see where this heads. But they definitely need a new location, done with the piped in noises, because NXT is at the top of using piped noises than Raw. So I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, takeovers and pay-per-views and arenas should happen very, very quick.
But let's get down with the matches. So they opened up with Cameron Grimes versus LA Knight.
Nice.
So this is for the $1 million championship. Like we talked in the past, this is a good story with the $1 million championship. Like it's going on for about 3 months now with Ted DiBiase, Cameron Grimes, and LA Knight. Decent enough story, entertaining segments. Even if you didn't watch NXT, they have been doing decent enough entertaining segments throughout these shows. Where at one point Cameron Grimes even became the butler of LA Knight, and then there was another scenario where LA Knight wanted who the $1 million man Ted DiBiase as a butler. So as a result, we are getting yet another match. I think this is their third match, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
But about the match was, you could say it was good. But the thing is that the crowd, like we had a hot baby face in Cameron Grimes. We had a hot heel in LA Knight. And the crowd was very much into it, created an environment. And they also did some good work in the ring and came off as a decent enough match. What do you think?
Yeah. So the first part, let's talk about the storyline. So when I was doing regular NXT reviews with you, I told you that I don't think this will get, bad or unfunny in the coming months. They've stretched it for 3 months and people are not bored, which proves that, NXT, Triple H and the creative team have done a good job. The segments have been funny. Even if it's a 50-50 booking, which it's not, it's been totally to LA Knight's side till now, till the takeover event happened. Even if it's like that, if one guy is getting all the wins, you are doing different stuff. This butler stuff, this is new things that are being invented. So very good ideas. And $1 million man being there, not taking a lot of physical activity because he's old, but still being there in the capacity, doing the promos, doing the title stuff. It's amazing and funny. So talking about the second part, which is the match, I added it to the match of the year contenders. I absolutely love the match. And the crowd made it really, really good, because Cameron Grimes, as we talked previously, will be really over when the crowds are back. So he is over. LA Knight is a great heel. He just has a personality, has a charisma, which I've not seen a lot of superstars with, LA Knight. So really happy with the match. Incredible ending, good result. And we also saw the Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase take a couple of jabs. So good stuff.
So it started with Ted DiBiase, actually he made his first entrance, and then came Cameron Grimes. And DiBiase actually brought a $1 million signed trash can. So Grimes, he came in this whole butler outfit and started, stripping, and we saw a customized ring gear for Mr. Grimes here. So speaking about the match, like I said, we got these elements of a good heel and a baby face. Crowd are into it. They are really doing a good job in the ring. And we also saw at one point, $1 million man got getting involved. So the story here was Cameron Grimes was looking for the $1 million dream, which is the move of, Ted DiBiase. He was trying it for numerous times, but, LA Knight did a great job, escaping. So as we get to the final parts, so there was a point where the referee was distracted and $1 million man got involved again, going for a punch on LA Knight as a, you call it a receipt, and then also locked in the $1 million, the submission hold. So back in, LA Knight is vulnerable here, and Grimes, it's his finisher, the cave in, and got the victory. 1, 2, 3. Cameron Grimes is the new $1 million champion. Really good moment for him, and you could say this was a culmination of this 2 to 3 months storyline. So great stuff here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the end of this rivalry. Very good, 3-month rivalry. They've ended it beautifully. I can say it's a perfect story ending. It's a happy ending for NXT. And Cameron Grimes, another homegrown star, really over with the crowd. So he has a bright future. And LA Knight is perhaps one of the best heels in that not only NXT but overall WWE has, even coming close to Lashley and Reigns, I would say. So he's doing some great stuff, and I'm really happy that both of these guys are growing on NXT.
LA Knight is basically Vince's dude. He can really use him on the main roster.
Yeah, he looks like he has all the tools that Vince looks for. Not size maybe, but he's big. He's 6'3", which is Roman Reigns' height, so that's not a problem. So LA Knight has, the tools that Vince named on Austin's old podcast. He's looking for charisma overflowing in LA Knight. He's looking for a personality, same thing. He's looking for someone who wants to learn. I feel LA Knight is the perfect guy to groom as a main eventer for WWE. So he's fitting the template really nicely, and I think he'll be, one of those guys who are perfect for the main roster, because not everyone is being used well on the main roster. So yeah, I think he'll do good if he does go to Raw or SmackDown.
But let's give some time. Like he should spend at least another 6 months in NXT, and then you can start having the conversation. So of let's move him to the main roster.
You know what? I would feel like the perfect time for him is to come around February 2022, because I think he should have his first feud at WrestleMania. Why? Is because I'll take the example of Damian Priest. I think they rushed Damian Priest's, arrival on the main roster just because they had planned that tag match for WrestleMania with Bad Bunny and Miz and Morrison. So Bad Bunny was performing at the Rumble, and they decided to do that at that time. Brought in Priest. They had a 3-month long, storyline for one match. So not at all good. So that's why I feel a month or two near Fastlane, February or March, LA Knight can come, have his first short feud with anyone on the main roster, have a normal match at Mania, and then his journey begins.
But about Cameron, he's also a very talented guy. The problem is he's one of those guys that got organically over by himself. It was not the machine that was behind him. He himself got over with this whole getting rich and being over. You get my point with the whole cryptocurrency and GameStop investment deal he had. So he organically got over, and I fear for him. He's not the WWE type of superstar type of mold. Like he's going to be if Vince sees him, he could use him, and don't see him as a great superstar.
Yes, that is true. LA Knight fits the mold, Cameron Grimes doesn't. And I can already imagine Cameron Grimes maybe if he's going to the main roster running after the 24/7 championship. I don't want him to do that, but I think Vince sees another No Way Jose in Cameron Grimes. Really bad to say that, because Cameron Grimes is way, way better. Maybe even No Way Jose could have been if he was booked nicely. But I see a lot of potential in Cameron Grimes, but I think he'll become a joker if he goes to the main roster. But the future can hold anything. We could be predicting wrong. LA Knight could be the one who's jobbing, and Cameron Grimes could be a champion. So nothing can be predicted. But yeah, two homegrown stars and two amazing talents that could do well.
Like, bro, did you see his interview with Mackenzie Mitchell? Like genuine emotions, and also showing off his character, his charisma as Superman.
Like, you give a guy a character. He was given the character of a rich guy, and he played it well. That's why he was getting over by himself. We have seen superstars on the main roster as well get over by themselves. So good job, pat on the back to Cameron Grimes for that. And let's just see what happens, because now he's got his big moment. Now is the time where he stays on top and does his storyline. So let's see who's next for the $1 million title. Is it going back? Is it going to stay as a permanent championship? A lot to see on NXT.
Yeah, they're kind of teasing a big celebration on NXT. So we'll get a small idea of what's going on with the title. Is it going to be a permanent thing, or is it gone?
yeah, he was really eager to win the championship. So I would feel it would be weird if he, the title goes again. So let's just see.
So we are talking about big moment we saw in the first match, and I was kind of expecting in the second one as well, but it was not the case. So we had Dakota Kai versus Raquel Gonzalez for the NXT Women's Championship. This is also a good story. Like they really stretched it, and they also, we had a package showing, their history, like how Dakota, brought the Raquel Gonzalez into the fray when she was kind of, irrelevant, and they went on this whole, reign with the NXT tag titles. They were a solid tag
Hmm.
team. Then they kind of, went into singles where, Raquel got a title shot instead of Dakota. Then we saw some jealousy. It was a slow build, but it got to the point where Dakota had enough and, kind of betrayed Raquel Gonzalez here. But man, like I was saying, I think Dakota Kai should have gotten the title here.
Yeah. So let's talk about the entire thing. The storyline, I was really happy with what happened in the storyline, but it randomly got ruined. It wasn't WWE's fault. Their fault that they taped the episode. It was extremely bad that someone caught it on camera. The Dakota Kai, attack on Raquel Gonzalez. They caught Samoa Joe's in-ring return confirmation. All of that got caught on tape as it was taped. So bad thing, but yeah, the storyline. If we would just assume the fact that we watched it live and didn't know anything about the spoilers, it was amazing. They built it well. The match wasn't anything great. I felt it was a decentish match, but yeah, I was expecting Dakota Kai, so I predicted Dakota Kai to win the NXT Women's Championship. But a person came out after the match, looked at Raquel, and we probably have our next feud. And are they just done with Dakota and Raquel at one show? And what is going to happen? I wanted more from this rivalry, to be honest, because they kept us waiting for so long. They told the fans that okay, this will happen, and now that it's happened, it's just one pay per view. I think they should have stretched it, but let's just see because another debutant is there on NXT.
And that's why I was predicting Dakota Kai to get the victory here. But it seems like they really wanted to establish Raquel Gonzalez with this victory.
Yeah, because why we felt Dakota was going to win is because this was the end of challengers. That's what we felt. We felt like Raquel beat everyone. Dakota is the end. Dakota is going to win. But she's also lost. And now we have the next challenger. So is this like it's going to happen again and again, just beating opponents after the other? I think she's not faced Frankie Monet yet. Maybe Frankie Monet could be the one to dethrone her, but Dakota Kai truly deserved this title win. And unhappy that she didn't get it, but I truly, truly want a rematch at the next takeover. So let's just see when it happens. But apparently, we have a record breaking former champion.
Bro, you just mentioned Frankie Monet here, and I didn't even realize that she was still on the roster. I thought she already was on the main roster or something like
No, she is on NXT. So she is on NXT and she is not being used a lot. So let's just see where it goes. But Frankie Monet is a good challenger. She can be a credible challenger for the NXT Women's Championship. Let's just see what happens.
But about this match, it kind of shocked me because Dakota Kai really brought the best out of Raquel here. And I think this was the best Raquel has looked, period, in NXT.
Yeah, she's had a terrible reign as NXT Women's Champion, and we were expecting this to be the end of that reign. Dakota starting fresh. So apparently Raquel has won. So they're probably doing something in this reign. They wanted to last longer or something. But yeah, this was probably the best moment of a title reign apart from winning it against EO. Nothing great has happened ever since. It's just that Dakota signaling her heel turn. So yeah, best moment in her reign.
So let's talk about some highlights here. It was kind of a, Raquel, the big monster, with this kind of underdog in Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai, was kind of, trying to knock down Raquel Gonzalez in the early parts with the kicks and whole stuff. And she was actually, doing this smart heel, like she was being a little quick here and was kind of retreating. Like that was a kind of a smart, smartish heel type of tactics. And I think that was a indication that Dakota Kai isn't actually winning this match. But anyways, really good stuff here. See some really good counters, some big power moves from Raquel Gonzalez. So at the final parts, we see both women were kind of doing something on the top rope where Dakota Kai escapes. So Raquel is vulnerable on the top rope. So she was going for that Yakuza kick. But what happened was, as Raquel Gonzalez was on the second rope, she caught the kick and turned it into that signature power bomb, that single-handed power bomb from the second rope, which looked great. And that was, I think, a great finish to this good enough match. And still, the NXT Women's Champion Raquel Gonzalez. But like you said, there was something happening in the post-match stuff. As Raquel is celebrating, we see Kaylee Ray, the former NXT UK Women's Champion, coming out and maybe issuing a challenge for Raquel Gonzalez. So yeah, let's see where that goes, because Kaylee Ray is a good enough talent. She could work and has somewhat of a character. Let's see where it goes. Is Kaylee Ray the one who takes the title from Raquel Gonzalez? Who knows?
I'm not done with Raquel and Dakota right now. They did it too quickly, because we were thinking it would stretch to 3 takeovers, 3 matches between Dakota and Raquel. Maybe Dakota getting it on the first turn, maybe second, or most probably the third. But immediately after Dakota Kai has lost, you've got another challenger who's a name that people believe can easily dethrone Raquel, because she's a former champion who held the championship for over 600 days. So NXT UK has a habit of giving long title reigns, but in the women's side, she's the only one who's held it for so long. So, credible challenger. I think if Kaylee Ray steps into the ring with Raquel, I don't think Raquel is going to retain, because if she beats her also, then you've basically ended all challengers. So, Kai versus Raquel versus Kaylee Ray, maybe triple threat at the next takeover. Who knows?
I think Dakota is done with NXT.
Maybe she shouldn't be, man. She's not won the NXT Women's Championship. That's the major thing for women on NXT. And she's been on a couple of main events, but I don't want her to leave right now, because there are too many people coming. They're building Aaliyah on main event. She's on every episode of main event, and she's extremely over with the crowd. The people love her, and she's beaten a lot of superstars on main event. She's been the next big star for Raw or SmackDown. So let's see where all of that goes. Not too many people at the same time. So Dakota should wait.
Depends, because like we're seeing whether Tony Storm gets the NXT championship, back then, but she got called up immediately. So we could see similar situation with Dakota Kai.
Yeah, the Raw Women's division is lacking a lot, so they could use someone there. Aaliyah is most probably going there. Dakota could also go. But you've seen with Tony Storm, she did a debut win against Zelina Vega. She's been absent since then. So you just don't know what's going to happen on the main roster. But if Dakota Kai thinks that's the best place for her, then so be it. Go.
Or else, if she is staying with NXT, then she has to win the championship at this point.
Yeah, she's built enough. She doesn't need to be more over or more built to be a credible challenger. She's quality. She can be NXT Women's Champion, and she needs to be. So today was a bad call. They called up Kaylee Ray too soon. So yeah, Dakota needs to win the championship. If they have another encounter, yes, please give it to her.
And crowd was very much into Dakota instead of Raquel.
Yeah, there's no proper heel face here, because they want Raquel to be the face here, but nobody loves Raquel Gonzalez that much to put her over with the crowd. So they love people who deserve the championship. Dakota did deserve it, so the crowd went with her.
And even Raquel Gonzalez, I think she's kind of main roster ready at this point.
Raquel Gonzalez can be a good star on the main roster, because Nia Jax is there. You can have Nia versus Raquel. That would be an insane match. Naya is getting better in the ring day by day. She's not
Really?
injuring as many people as she did. Yeah, true. She's had that amazing match with Rhea Ripley once on Raw a couple of weeks back. So she's developing. Raquel could be a very good pick for her.
But let's see where this goes. But shall we move on to the best part of this whole takeover? Shall we?
Yeah, this is the Edge versus Rollins of Takeover.
This is on some another level. Edge versus Rollins, they did a great job, but it's on some different level. But
Yeah,
let's
it's
talk
on
about
cloud nine.
basically. But let's talk about the NXT UK Championship match. It is a Walter versus Ilya Dragunov, part 2. We did see part 1 in the when was it? In November of
October.
it was October. It was October in a normal NXT UK TV 5-star match. Maybe it came this close of getting, match of the year. Kind of came on number 2, maybe some New Japan match. I think it was Okada Ibushi, something like that. But really solid match back then. And normally when you have this iconic, rematches, like for example, see Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. The first one, it's a great match, but people doubt whether the second match will exceed expectation or be on that same level. Man, these guys put on the effort, and they came into exceed the expectation, but they delivered the same type of match, the same type of intensity, and the same quality. Man, this was a classic, and you can easily put it in your match of the year candidate, man. Any promotion.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have added it. So, I've not been a regular viewer of NXT UK, but I've watched their major matches like Walter Dragunov won and Kaylee Ray versus Miko Satomura and all of those major matches. I've watched those. So I was happy to see Ilya Dragunov versus Walter on this card. And, Dragunov was kind of going to win because when we had Walter versus Champa, we knew Champa can't win because of this travel issues. So when you have two superstars who are actually part of the active roster of NXT UK, anyone can win. And it's kind of a great number to end it on. Walter has an 870-day reign, and now it's incredible 870 days. So Ilya Dragunov, amazing talent. Wade Barrett was right to say on commentary that he's motivated by pain. So the more you hurt him, the better he gets in the match, and his expressions, his charisma in the ring. Walter is an all-time great. So absolutely awesome match and terrific stuff. What else can you say? Because you knew that this was going to be match of the night, no matter what the other matches deliver, and it absolutely was. So really happy that Ilya Dragunov is the new NXT UK champion and ending a 870-day reign. Bright future for him. Walter probably coming to the main roster, and there are a ton of dream matches that I want to see Walter in. So let's just see where this goes.
Did you see the promo package for this match? Like, it was presented really beautifully. Like, the first encounter, kind of messed up Dragunov mentally, physically, and they said it in a way that Walter kind of became a nightmare for Dragunov, and he kind of lost his mind for a while. Then Walter came back, like the nightmare is back, something like that. Beautiful presentation here, and the match, it was beautiful, and we did see some callback to the first encounter. Like, of course, the first 5 minutes of this match was pure wrestling, and Dragunov was avoiding the big Walter chop. Like, Walter was on the get-go was going for the big chop. Dragunov did a great job, escaping, and he was hitting some chops of his own. Like I said, 5 minutes pure wrestling here, and then we got to a point where they were exchanging submissions, and Walter stops him with a simple slap and knocks him off the top rope. Then we see some intense chops, and they are literally beating the shit out of each other. We got to a point where Walter is targeting the neck and back of Dragunov with after that big powerbomb in the apron. And this was the same story we saw in the first encounter, the neck and the back.
Mhm.
So Walter is stomping, kind of going to the upper body part of Dragunov. Dragunov is a pro in selling, man.
Absolute king in selling.
So Dragunov is doing fantastic pro job, selling, and they are kind of exchanging submissions. Like Walter is wants to choke out Dragunov here. Like this is how he ended the last match, where where Dragunov was completely knocked out. So he's trying to choke out Dragunov, but Dragunov is fighting back. Even it's a big uppercut, which Walter didn't go down. Walter hits some bunch of lariats and even dropping Dragunov on his head, which looked insane. And we see some great back and forth. And as we get to the final parts, because Dragunov has exhausted all his big moves, so what is left? Just choke out Walter, and that's what he did. He is not even ready to let go of the move. He really wants to choke out Walter here, but Walter is fighting back. And there was one spot, all of a sudden, he he went full insane with that chokehold, and Walter, this big giant guy, he went full limp. This is all the opposite, because last time it was Dragunov in this position. Now Walter is in this desperate position and taps out all of a sudden. Really good ending, man. Really good ending. We have new NXT UK champion in Ilya Dragunov. Great stuff. This is pure professional wrestling. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Gold stuff. I think I couldn't have, said it better than you did. You have explained the match as well as the moments that we saw. So, absolutely brilliant stuff. Ilya Dragunov, I can see the determination in that guy. When he wrestles, you can see how, angry and pissed off he is at Walter. You can see how, anxious he is to win the NXT UK championship. He's just good at wrestling, the art. He's good at the art and the craft. So amazing match. Walter and Ilya Dragunov, one was amazing, two was even better. So match of the year contender for sure, and maybe it could even win, because till now any match of the year contender is there. The people are like, no, Reigns versus Edge versus Bryan beats everything. So maybe this comes really close. So I'm really happy to see this match. But Ilya Dragunov, incredible star. Walter, what's your future?
Walter is special, man. He's the GOAT.
Yeah,
And
he's really special, and I'm really scared, because if he does come to the main roster, he's going to last 2 to 3 months. I'm really sorry. He lasts 2 to 3 months and he's going to be released. He can't exist on the main roster at all. He doesn't fit the template. The first thing he comes on the main roster, he's going to be full body suited like Keith Lee. He cannot go on with his trunks. He'll be forced to do promos a lot. He'll not be having his faction. Everything will go wrong. I just hope he does something good and maybe come to NXT now. Not being in UK, just come to the proper NXT and win the NXT North American or the NXT Championship. Can you imagine Samoa Joe versus Walter? It will be insane. So there are a lot of things he can do, but I would just suggest him till the end of your career, stay on NXT. Don't go to the main roster.
Walter is way above WWE and NXT at this point.
Like yeah, he's not at anyone's level. Like if I had to name like 3 superstars who are at their peak right now, 3 stars built by WWE, you cannot, go without saying Walter. He's at the absolute top because in-ring skills, incredible. I can compromise for the promos because of what he does inside the ring. You have Roman Reigns and you have a lot of people who can take the third spot. But these two are your premier people. If I have to build a roster, I can begin with these two. If he does come to the main roster, this is my first dream match, because Roman Reigns versus Walter, it can be match of the year, match of the night, any match of the decade. So let's just see what happens. Maybe it's a miracle and Walter does well on the main roster. Vince sees something in him. He can be the perfect Paul Heyman guy after Lesnar leaves. So let's just see what happens. But Walter, once in a generation talent, no one comes close.
Bro, if I was running the main roster, I would give him the world championship in just 3 months.
Not the universal one.
I know for special reason, but he is on that upper elite, no pun intended level. But if you want to stay in NXT, the NXT option is way better than going to the main roster. Give him
Yeah,
yet,
exactly.
give him
As I
yet another.
said,
You're gone.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, like the NXT option is way better because you can give him yet another record-setting title reign with the NXT Championship.
Yeah, you know what? That would bring even more eyes to Walter. Walter has been in a couple of segments and matches on the main NXT, which has a good amount of viewers, more than NXT UK. So bringing him to the main NXT brand, if he does take the decision of bringing his family to America and staying there, if he does take that big move, I think NXT is the better option. Win the NXT North American Championship. You have the NXT World Championship. You can win all of that, have amazing feuds. Superstars are there who you can have dream matches with. And Walter is just a once in a generation athlete, as I said. So, yeah, NXT is the better option. But again, would his family want to be in America? They wish to stay in UK. So let's just see what happens. But if he's given a choice, I think he'll go for NXT. He's not that stupid.
But 800 days, bro, that's a long, long time.
870 days. It's like the longest reign in the modern era. And Triple H took the liberty of doing the promos in their, package. So he knows how good these two are. I think Triple H will be very adamant to bring Walter to the main NXT so that he can do stuff with him. And Walter is just an absolute legend. Let's just see where this goes, because anywhere Walter goes, he will deliver until and unless he's booked poorly and is made running after the 24/7 championship.
Bro, it's been 5 years and we only had 3 NXT UK champions.
Yeah, even in the women's division, you had Rhea Ripley, then you had Kaylee Ray for so long. Now you have Miko. So NXT UK just loves so many, because probably they feel they don't have so many viewers to have constant title changes. They like to give one superstar a title win and then build him for too long, so that when they do move on to NXT or the main roster, they do have a big name. So maybe that's the reason, because they saw something in Rhea Ripley, they pushed her too quick, and that was a good move. So they probably want their stars to be grown organically, as you said, for Cameron Grimes. And that's the reason they're giving them long range. But 870 and not being bored, insane stuff, Walter.
That's why I said Walter is special.
Yeah.
But moving on, at this point, you have hit peak for this show. Nothing is stopping this match. And the next match kind of tried their best, man. Adam Cole, Pay versus Kyle O'Reilly. This was number 3 in the series of matches. Their first match at WrestleMania weekend, that long thing that they did was, for me, it was too long, and that killed that match. Second match, I didn't watch. This one, they kind of tried, but this went to the same formula of doing the same thing that they did at WrestleMania weekend. But what do you think about this feud, these matches they had? So talk to me about Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole.
So the first match they had was an unsanctioned match. They did all the no DQ stuff, the hardcore stuff that they wanted to do, all of that over. Next up, Great American Bash, they have their proper straight up wrestling match. Amazing match. And, you have Adam Cole who wins the match. Now, the problem is you've busted your no DQ stuff. You have done your straight up wrestling match. You have nothing left. So they're basically doing the same stuff again and again. You have this undisputed finale tag given to it. You have it as a 2 out of 3 falls match instead of calling it a 3 stages of hell match, because you had a straight up wrestling match, then you had a street fight, and I couldn't see the steel cage on the top, so I felt like Kyle O'Reilly was going to win 2-0. But then they shocked me by bringing 4 pieces of the cage from different sides. So I was basically, the cage was flat up on the top. So yeah, they had 3 falls, but nothing. It was a good match. It was not bad. But the problem is we've already seen the entire match in 2 different parts in the past. So that's the problem. It's nothing new. So Adam Cole loses the match by 2-1. And I hate to say this, but I think it's his last match in WWE.
We'll get to that part as well. But what do you think about this? I think Adam Cole had a similar type of stipulation match with Johnny Gargano a couple of years ago in Toronto.
Yeah, he had 2 out of 3 falls match, which I think also had a steel cage match. I also had a street fight, also had a similar theme to it. So yeah, as I said, nothing new.
Like that is the same vibe I got here as well. Like you're doing too much at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Like they probably, told Adam Cole, would you like to talk about Adam Cole right now? Because my next point would be similar to that.
Let's talk about this match and let's fully dedicate our time to Adam Cole Bay. But about this match, so we had 3 falls here. The first fall, it was good. This was the best part. They started really great. They're going all at 100 miles per hour. Spots, super cakes, like doing all these spots, and we got to the point where I think Kyle O'Reilly got the victory here, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, he got it in the first fall.
And so they opened the first fall really great. And now we got to the second part where it was street fight. So they are bringing in the weapons here. And here, the one thing I liked about the second fall was Adam Cole was targeting the ribs of Cole was targeting the ribs of O'Reilly, and O'Reilly was really doing a great job selling. So at this point, match is going really smoothly, really well. Doing the selling part really great. But they started, bringing in the weapons, and now it is all WrestleMania weekend all over again. Going to the outside, bringing in weapons, and it's kind of dragging at this point. I'm like, when will this match end? So we got to the point where Cole got the victory here. Like they are dropping each other with trash cans. I think O'Reilly got dropped on a setup standing steel chair on the edge, which looked insane. So Cole got a super kick, I believe, and that is how he got the second fall. So it is 1-1. And now the third fall is a steel cage match. So, bro, they are taking about 10 to 15 minutes, I believe, to just set up the steel cage. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, you had Bronson Reed versus Johnny Gargano on a steel cage, so we know you can set up a steel cage. So why not just have the steel cage on top? Why they had all 4 pieces of the steel cage separated and stuck to the top roof, and they had the steel cage was brought together and then fixed for 10 minutes. So I don't think it was a smart move because Adam Cole was basically sleeping and Kyle O'Reilly was like this fallen on the ring and basically waiting so that the people could set up the steel cage. So yeah, probably they also felt themselves that they were stretching it. If you think of a 3 stages of hell or a 2 out of 3 falls match, you would think that 15, 15, 15, it would go on a long match. But even they felt like it was stretching a bit. They ended the steel cage match so quickly. They didn't have a lot of offense in the steel cage, except, Adam throwing Kyle onto the cage once. So it was a bit, repetitive and it was long. So no, wasn't needed. Yeah, you could have given us one, maybe just a single steel cage match would have worked. That would have been something new, but they went in with whatever they wanted to. And yeah, you got the result.
So, like I said, first fall, really great. Second fall, quality started to dip, and it continued through the third fall in the steel cage match. Like, first of all, they took time to set up the things, and then the match began. So, at this point, the quality of this entire match has gone down. So, they're kind of, beating the shit out of each other with these weapons inside, exchanging near falls, submissions. So we got to the point where Adam Cole, he tied O'Reilly on the ropes with these handcuffs. So he's beating the shit out of O'Reilly here with forearms, with super kicks. So at one point, O'Reilly, he caught Adam Cole in a submission. I think it was an ankle lock. And this is a shitty finish, if you ask me, because if you look closely, there was a kendo stick nearby, if I'm not wrong. Did you notice it?
Yeah.
So basically, Adam Cole should pick it up and beat up Kyle O'Reilly here, but he decided to tap. There you go,
Yeah,
O'Reilly.
because he's adamant to just leave.
Like he's so bored with NXT that fuck it, I just want to end this match and leave. That's the kind of vibe that this finish game.
Better.
Yeah, you're freezing a lot, but let's continue.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, Adam Cole, there's been rumors that he's leaving, he's staying, he's had that $1 million deal on SmackDown. And as he's having that deal, Bobby Fish is released. So lot of things happening in his life. But I think Adam Cole is just bored. He's just done. He's basically done everything on NXT. He doesn't want to go to the main roster. And I think it's almost clear that Adam Cole is leaving WWE for good. He has all his buddies in AEW. He has his wife in AEW. So all things are going good there if he does go. He'll be booked well. He'll stay with his family. So there's no point staying. If $1 million deal and some good main roster moves and matches and title wins is what you want, then do stay. But if you want a good life and a good career, then go to AEW. Make your choices. But there are still time. They'll have that clause of someday 60 or 90. They'll still give him time to decide. Okay, 30. They'll still give him time to decide what contract he wants. Maybe he could stay, but absolutely his pick.
Bro, it's still up in the air because I read that it was PW Insider that reported that he's done with NXT. Like everybody knows that he's done with NXT. But Fightful then said that the extension, remember this point, the extension he had from Great American Bash to till now, that, and he did that, but he didn't decide to, sign a new contract. So that's something to look after.
Yeah, he had extended his contract till SummerSlam weekend just for this match. So now this match is done. Let's see what happens. But apparently, Vince has promised him a lot of things if he does come to the main roster because he sees something in Adam Cole. He sees charisma, but Cole is scared because he's 5'10". So he's among those small guys who Vince doesn't like. So Vince can promise him everything, but maybe he could just become his old toy that, okay, I'm done with him. One US title reign, one IC title reign. And yeah, he's just looking too small for me. So done.
Bro, Adam Cole. Yeah, I get it. You got some small guys on this roster. Not everyone could succeed in that type of area. I'm talking about the main roster, but Adam Cole, like I was talking about Walter earlier, he's special. He's a once in a generation talent. The size thing, get rid of the size thing. This guy can work. This guy can talk. He's charismatic. He's over as hell. What else do you need?
You need nothing exactly. He's ticking like 9 out of 10 boxes. The only problem is he's not big. So, which is a big problem for WWE, but we don't see it. We feel like that's not such a big issue, but it is for him because if he's going up against a Randy Orton who's 6'5" and he's 5'10", he's looking 6 inches short, so he'll look really small in front of those guys. Now in NXT, you have people who are just 1 or 2 inches taller than you, so you have an average height there. But there are huge people on the main roster, so I don't know if he feels inferior or something, but he does have that fear that that's going to happen. That's the only issue he has with WWE. He feels he'll be released too early when he goes. But if he does, wish to go to AEW because AEW right now is looking like the best pro wrestling company in the entire world. CM Punk is gone there. Daniel Bryan is confirmed. There are rumors of Bray Wyatt going. If Adam Cole also goes, it's basically WWE 2.0. So let's see what happens. But yeah, not happy that Adam Cole is leaving. But yeah, whatever he decides, his choice.
Like this guy could main event at least one WrestleMania. He's that good.
He can surely main event more than one WrestleMania. He's very, very good. I could see him having killer matches with AJ Styles, with Roman Reigns, with Lashley, McIntyre. All these matches are left. So many people on the main roster that he can fight. Let's just see what he chooses, because I would love for him to stay on, the main roster or in NXT. But absolutely his pick. I think AEW is most certain.
And yeah, at this point, it's likely because his friends, the Young Bucks, kind of in a cheesy way, gave away that he is coming. And Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, she sent a simple tweet saying, pay, pay. So things are looking like he is all elite. Maybe.
Yeah, many rumors that he's going to AEW, and he just has that assurance. If he goes to AEW, he knows that he'll be treated well because he has friends there, he has his family there. So let's just see what happens. But again, as I said, it's Adam Cole. He's a big star. Wherever he goes, he'll do well.
Or else, if you want to quote unquote time pass on the main roster and not being used, they say that they have promised him a big money, so he can do
Yeah,
that.
they've promised him $1 million contract.
So if you want to think as a businessman, he can get that money, just cool off. Maybe they will not use him. Maybe one day they will finally, release when his contract, comes up, and or something else happens, and then he can go to AEW, something like that. But if he's going already, that's even better.
Yeah, no problem in that, because he's a great athlete, great talent. He can speak, he can wrestle, everything is okay. If he does come to the main roster, heavy rumors that he'll be on SmackDown. So if he is on SmackDown, I have more hopes because he'll be booked well, because Paul Heyman is there. Paul Heyman even fought till the end to keep Aleister Black. So he'll take care of these guys. So he knows what the future is, basically. So if Adam Cole does decide to stay in WWE and goes to SmackDown, I can see him winning the Universal Championship, doing the main events of SummerSlam, having killer matches, main eventing WrestleMania. So anywhere he goes, basically he's good.
But let's see, man. Wherever Cole goes, either he's going to be a millionaire or he's going to be at the top of the wrestling world.
Yeah.
That's basically it with this situation. And we also saw a turn, like the crowd was much more into Adam Cole than Kyle O'Reilly.
They basically knew he's leaving, that's why.
Like they're going to miss Mr. Bay here. But let's get to the main event then.
Yeah.
So it was for the NXT Championship. This was Karrion Kross, no Scarlett, versus Samoa Joe. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Like this entire vibe of this match, I was not feeling it. Like, and first up, before you speak, Karrion Kross looked like a dude that he didn't want to even be here. Like this crowd completely shit on him.
See, I feel bad for Karrion Kross because I love that guy. I've seen his work and I love Karrion Kross a lot. So first it began with "We Want Scarlet." Then it went to Hardy chants. Then when he ended the match, it was "Nana Nana Hey Hey Goodbye." So and then they chanted Hardy again. So basically they're bullying him, and I feel so bad for Karrion Kross because he's alone out there. There's no Scarlet, which makes him feel naked on screen. He doesn't have that. He still has the fog machines and stuff, but the whole character of him is because of his wife. So the entire storyline, they tried it on Raw, but I don't know which genius gave the idea to NXT to try him on NXT as well without his wife. So they went on, and talking about the match, it was really bad. I didn't like the match a lot because I love Samoa Joe. I was really excited that he's coming back to the ring, but he was very slow. He felt like he didn't, he was very slow. I don't know, because of his age, because of his weight, or I don't know what, but he was really slow to fight. And the entire match was really slow paced. Kross was trying to do the heavy work, trying to do a lot. So kind of a boring match, but yeah, the end satisfied a lot of people.
Bro, what is up with Scarlett, man?
I don't know because that's the only person who's keeping Cross's character alive right now. If Cross is existing in WWE, is if he's relevant, it's because of his wife. It's too bad to say that a superstar is not getting over because he doesn't have his manager, aka his wife. It's like it almost is like saying it to his face that you're not good enough. He's That's basically it. The entrance is not working for him. His in-ring work is not overshadowing the fact that his wife is not there. It's basically like Karrion Cross needs his wife in WWE or he's nothing.
And I don't know, either two things here. Something happened, real life came into play, or we are seeing typical WWE, like separate these two. We are going to use them on the
No,
main roster, but let's separate these two.
no, I don't think it's a real family issue. There are proper rumors that WWE wants Karrion Cross to learn the craft, not learn the craft, bad sentence to use. They want him to be alone and learn how to get over with the crowd. They don't want Karrion Cross to feel like, okay, I have my wife, so the people will care about me. They want Karrion Cross to show the crowd and show the creative team that he can do this job alone. And that's the problem because right now he does need his wife for the character and there's not a problem in that. It's not like, you know, see, you if you build managerial positions, you have Reigns and Heyman. If Paul Heyman leaves right now, it would not leave as major an impact as we are feeling with Karrion Cross because Roman Reigns can do terrific promos. He's doing his job well, but with Karrion Cross, he just feels empty. And we already know there's no chance he's staying on NXT. We know he's going to Raw. He's done with. That's why NXT Championship reign is over. But Vic Joseph saying he's undefeated, not pinned in NXT. Like first it was he's totally undefeated. Now it's like undefeated in NXT because Jeff Hardy beat him in 2 minutes. So the crowd is not with him. His wife is not with him. Karrion Cross is totally alone. I'm really disappointed with what WWE is doing with him, and his main roster run has been bad till now. So really, anxious of his future.
Or get rid of this whole, this theme, this current character, giving something new if is going alone.
I don't think the character is a problem because if you're starting his entrance, why is he bloody standing already on the stage when you're starting his entrance? Let him come from the entrance way. Let him have his proper theme song. He's starting in the middle of his theme song and he's standing on the stage. People have already started shooting. It's stupid. They're basically doing everything wrong. And I think out of his 4 or 5 main roster matches, except one, every single one has been against Hardy. So I don't know what they're doing.
And bro, that when it comes alone to that theme, it looks stupid for some reason. That theme doesn't
cringe, basically.
If Scarlett's not there, then you should have this theme.
And plus, on Raw, they don't even use smoke. It's even worse.
I don't know, man. At this point, I will not say Karrion Cross is buried like, Bianca, but
very close to.
But I would, call him damaged goods.
Like Keith Lee.
But Keith Lee is a different situation. But don't know. He's going to the main roster. But we are about to, speak about the match. Like I said, this guy was not in the mood to even compete, I guess. What did you feel about the match?
Yeah, I said it was very slow. Joe was feeling really tired. I don't know because I think he's gotten old. I think he's gained a bit of weight during his time off, during his injury. He's become really slow. He was getting tired easily in the ring. A bit of moves in the end. He brought back the muscle buster. He did that insecurity to the top rope when Cross was sitting on the turnbuckle. But apart from that, he was basically too slow for the match. Cross was doing a lot of work in the match. And when a guy is doing that much work like AJ has been doing for Omos, AJ is over. So that's helping the situation. Cross isn't over and he's doing so much work. So it's totally going downhill with him. And yeah, let's talk about the happy part because Samoa Joe won the NXT Championship, first ever history making 3 times. So let's talk about the highlights of the match and the good stuff, which is the victory.
So, like you said, the pace of this match is going slow. You could say this whole situation regarding both men is a disaster. You said you are feeling bad for Karrion Kross, bro. I was feeling bad for Samoa Joe.
Yeah, like the feud was fire. If you just in your mind forget about what Cross has been doing on Raw, then you have an incredible feud between Joe and Karrion Cross, two of the biggest guys on NXT. Joe's in-ring, it wasn't even highlighted that much. Samoa Joe has been returning to the ring after 500 days. It's not even being highlighted that much. So we probably saw why, because they don't even care about it anymore. So Cross is going to Raw, Joe is staying on NXT. Who is going to be his next challengers, because he cannot, I think, at this stage hang in there with Johnny Gargano or Ciampa, because they're too fast for him. Cross was decent enough because he's a bit slow as well. But Joe has become really, really, 50% of what he was at his peak. So let's see what the future is. But yeah, I do feel bad for him as well.
Like I'm okay at this point. I'm okay with him. Just stop wrestling, something like that. I was digging the non-wrestling thing he was doing in on Raw, but seeing this was kind of disheartening.
Yeah, because you have seen Samoa Joe at his peak. You have seen the guy can do so much. And now you're excited for his return, and he's just slow. He's tired. He feels old. So he's too good on the mic. He can do a commentary position. He can do a manager position. He could have replaced William Regal. William Regal is obviously a coach for the NXT talents permanently. So he could have done that stuff, but they chose, because if you talk about Joe, Joe would obviously be very happy to come back to the ring, but I don't know what he's feeling right now, if he's actually happy with his performance.
Bro, that's why if you think about it, I think this is the reason why he came back to decided to come back to NXT. And as of now, he's semi-retired. Did you hear that he's doing other stuff as well? Going with Triple H and Regal and recruiting guys. That's his basically
Yeah,
role in the company now.
yeah, Joe is probably the senior in the team. He's 40 plus, and that's why I was shocked, because NXT right now, we heard that they want people in their 20s to be big stars and then move on to the main roster. They basically want everyone from NXT on the main roster. So giving the world championship of a brand to a guy who's 40 plus was a bit shocking to me after what we've heard. But there are also rumors that all the championships would be stripped. It would become a developmental brand again. So there are very negative things that could happen. Good things could also happen. But a bright and a dark future on NXT. But Samoa Joe being champion, I don't think it's a thing to be excited about, because what is it leading to? Joe is recruiting talent. He's doing mic stuff. He's getting old, slow. So what is it leading to? Yeah, happy moment that he's a three-time champion making history, but what next? Not Goldberg.
No, that's opposite, man. At least I think Joe will be putting guys over. That's the whole thing with Samoa Joe being champion again.
Yeah, but he's just won the title. He can't lose in his first defense.
But anyways, this match was a complete disaster. We did see some big moves. Cross was already, hitting the what's that big move he calls the Saito suplex, and
Yeah,
he also hit his big finisher, that elbow or forearm, and that knocks out Joe for a while. He's hitting suplexes. Both men are basically, kind of the same, with this maneuvers they hit. We saw a similar suplex from Joe as well. And there was one point where, Joe hits that scoop slam, that spinning slam. Karrion Kross landed on his head.
exactly. Yes, I was going to mention that, but because a lot of people who hate Goldberg, you highlighted the move where Goldberg threw Lashley over the top rope and almost broke his neck. You love Samoa Joe so much that you don't see that moment. Karrion Kross was almost landing on his neck and almost broke his neck because Joe didn't connect the power slam. And it gets to the point again that he's old and he's slow. I'm sorry, but I love Joe so much, so I can't see him like this. He's getting old. He can't wrestle a very good match now. He's getting tired. Okay. So Karrion Kross, a lot of people wanted to point out Goldberg throwing Lashley off the top rope and breaking his neck. What about this one? Joe is getting old. He's getting slow. He doesn't connect the power slam properly. Kross almost broke his neck. So it's getting to the point where you want to see more of Samoa Joe, but not this Samoa Joe. He's getting slow since 2018. when he came to the main roster, he had his classic rivalry with AJ Styles, but that was because he knew AJ well. He knew the pace of the match, and they delivered every single time they step into the ring. But now he's getting just too old. He cannot hang in there with the current, Garganos and Champas. He cannot hang in there. So I don't know what Joe holds, but I would prefer him moving into some other thing.
But at the end, we see, as we were talking about the match, so both men were exchanging submissions. Joe was going for the coquina clutch and cross. He was going for the cross jacket. So we got to the point where both men were in the corner. Cross was going for some big move off the top. Joe catches him with a kick. And we see the muscle buster after a long time. Surprised that they kind of, gave a green signal for that. Joe hits that, gets the victory. Is a 3-time NXT champion now. So that's kind of some history. Joe is champion. Cross, we'll see you on Monday Night Raw every week doing nothing logically. But yeah, that was NXT TakeOver 36. Good show. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Overall, a good show, but just adding to the fact, just visualize in your head on Monday Night Raw, Karrion Kross standing on the stage without his wife, midway in his theme song, without the NXT championship. He's basically Reginald. He's not anything special.
I don't know, man. I don't know. He's not buried, but he definitely is damaged goods at this point.
Yeah.
But that was the review for TakeOver. And before we leave, where can these guys find you?
So you guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at GharBaithe the podcast, and some vlogs that I do. You can find me on all 3 platforms. And before we go, my rating for TakeOver, I think I would have reduced a half for, Dakota Kai stuff, the main event and all of that. I'll give it a 7.
Array, this is very low, if you ask me.
Yeah, I reduced it for the cross stuff because I didn't expect. Okay, for you, I'll increase it to, okay, I'll do it an 8.
I'll also give it an 8. If you just given me an hour-long Walter versus Dragon, I would have given it a 10. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
But you can find Slam Up Wrestling on Twitter at SlamUpW, Instagram at SlamUp Wrestling. You can catch this review on the audio platforms like Anchor and Spotify as well. This was the NXT TakeOver 36 review, and see you guys next time.